Welcome back to Insects for Fun. Today, we're going to explore one of the most delightful and deceptive groups of insects you've definitely seen before: hoverflies, also called flower flies or syrphid flies. At first glance, you might mistake them for bees or wasps, but these are imposters with some fascinating roles in the insect world. They're not only excellent mimics, but also some of the most important pollinators on the planet. Hoverflies belong to the family Syrphidae, one of the largest families of true flies, with over 6,000 described species worldwide. They're called hoverflies because of their uncanny ability to suspend themselves in mid-air, like little insect drones, and then dart away in an instant. Unlike bees and wasps, hoverflies have only one pair of wings, the telltale sign of being a true fly. Order Diptera. Fun fact, Diptera literally translates to two wings from Greek origins, with di for two and pteron for wings. The second pair of wings on hoverflies have been reduced to little knob-like structures called halteres, which help stabilize their acrobatics in flight. They detect body rotation and give instant feedback, allowing hoverflies to make rapid adjustments in flight. Not to mention their wing beat frequency is also incredibly high, often around 120 to 300 beats per second. This rapid wing motion creates enough lift to hold them perfectly steady. There's more to it though. Instead of just flapping up and down, hoverflies use a special figure 8 wing stroke, similar to hummingbirds. This generates lift on both the forward and backward stroke, giving them continuous upward force and fine control over movement. For my swimmers out there, think about how you tread water. You can't simply lift your arms vertically up and down. You need to actually move them in a similar pattern to stabilize and keep yourself afloat. Hoverflies are also relatively light-bodied and streamlined. This makes it easier for them to counter gravity without wasting too much energy. Studies comparing hoverflies to bees found that hoverflies are much more energy efficient, which is one reason they can hover for so long without tiring. And speaking of bees, one of the coolest things about hoverflies is their use of Batesian mimicry. Many species sport yellow and black stripes, furry bodies, or even translucent wasp-like wings, all to look dangerous without actually being able to sting. Volucella zonaria, sometimes called the hornet hoverfly, looks so much like a hornet that people often panic when they see one. This is also Europe's largest hoverfly, with a wingspan up to 2 centimeters, and the larvae actually live inside wasp nests, feeding on detritus and dead wasp larvae. These larvae can stay inside the nest rent-free with no problems because they're actually doing the wasps a service. Next up, we have Eristalis tenax, the drone fly. Perfectly imitates a honeybee in shape, size, and buzzing flight. And then over in Australia, the hoverfly Cymosyrphus grandicornis mimics paper wasps, and it does it so closely that even birds give them space. This mimicry gives hoverflies protection against predators while letting them freely visit flowers without being bothered. Which leads us to our next point. Hoverflies might not sting like real bees, but they are pollination powerhouses, just like honeybees. In fact, in alpine and Arctic regions where bees can be scarce, hoverflies are often the main pollinators. But hoverflies don't just buzz around local flowers. They migrate on a continental scale. In Europe, species like Epicyrphus balteatus and Eupiotus corale undertake mass seasonal migrations. Every spring, billions of hoverflies travel northward from the Mediterranean into northern Europe, and in autumn, they fly back south. Radar studies in the UK have tracked hoverfly swarms moving at altitudes up to 1,000 meters, sometimes covering hundreds of kilometers in a single journey. Scientists estimate that in just 1 year, hoverflies migrating across Britain transported billions of pollen grains and consumed trillions of aphids along the way. Which brings us to the larvae. The larvae of many species are actually voracious aphid eaters. A single larvae of Epicyrphus balteatus, the marmalade hoverfly, can consume hundreds of aphids during its development. Gardeners and farmers in Europe have long recognized hoverflies as allies, and modern agriculture even uses them in biological control programs. A great spotlight example would be the use of hoverflies in a greenhouse. Researchers in the Netherlands released pupae of Episyrphis balteatus and other species directly into the greenhouses for strawberry plants, and found that the adults not only laid eggs where the aphids clustered, but also pollinated the strawberries as they fed on nectar. The only limitation was that within a greenhouse setting, the hoverflies needed extra fuel, so they supplemented the system with extra sugar and pollen. People do this all the time in butterfly houses with sponges or fruits on plates. The result was dramatic. Larvae hatched into hungry aphid predators, while adults lived longer, laid more eggs, and visited more blossoms. Aphid populations dropped sharply, and strawberry yields improved, thanks to the extra pollination service. This experiment showed just how powerful hoverflies can be in an integrated pest management, not just as aphid assassins, but as multitasking allies that help protect plants and boost production. Episyrphis balteatus is so useful that it's even been commercialized as a product called syrphid. The pupae are released in cardboard boxes with dosages ranging from 100 to 600 pupae per hectare of orchard, depending on aphid density. Hoverflies undergo complete metamorphosis, egg, larva, pupae, and adult. Eggs are often laid near the food source, which varies widely, because not all hoverfly larvae are aphid killers. As it turns out, there are three main categories for hoverfly larvae. There's the predatory aphid eaters, aquatic detritus and bacteria filter feeders, and soil-dwelling detritivores. Some can also be parasitic, but this is quite rare, which is why I'm saying there are only three main categories. Aquatic species like Aristalis tenax larvae are nicknamed rat-tailed maggots because they breathe through a long tail-like tube that pokes out of the water's surface while the larva lives in stagnant water below. Hoverfly larvae pupate inside a tough outer skin known as a puparium. These look like small brown capsules and, depending on the species, can take place on leaves, in soil, water margins, or hidden in crevices. Pupation usually lasts 1 to 3 weeks, but in temperate areas, pupae can overwinter. The diversity of larval habits is a big part of why hoverflies are found almost everywhere, from mountain meadows to urban flower beds. Hoverflies might be flies in the traditional sense, but their presence is well known as a boon for gardeners and farmers. In modern gardening culture, hoverflies are known as, quote, the gardener's friends, unquote. And many conservation guides encourage planting wildflowers specifically to attract them. In Japan, they're sometimes called bee flies, hana abu. And while less celebrated than butterflies, they're considered gentle summer visitors around flowers. In fact, I saw some today while I was out fishing. And that's going to wrap up this episode. Thanks for listening to Insects for Fun, and remember to give it a 5-star rating and seriously tell some friends about it. Also, if you want more episodes, you can get them over on Patreon. I think there are about 29 bonus episodes so far, but I've already pre-recorded a few more. And if you want live footage of caterpillars and other outdoor stuff, I've got that too. I've also been active on YouTube again, so if you want informational shorts adjacent to what we cover on the pod, then definitely be sure to check that out. Thanks again for listening.